When the First Crusade ended, Jerusalem stood under Christian rule, but peace was far from secure. In the years that followed, a small group of warrior monks began to rise in power. They were the Knights Templar. By the 1140s, they commanded fortresses, advised kings, and stood as one of the most disciplined forces in the Holy Land. In 1144, the city of Edessa, the First Crusader stronghold, fell to the Muslim ruler Zengi. It was the first major defeat of the Crusader states. This is the story of the Second Crusade, how kings, queens, and military orders marched once more to the east, and how ambition and division would lead them to failure. The Second Crusade was the first to be led not by knights or lords, but by kings. Leading the charge was Louis VII of France. Deeply religious, Louis saw the crusade as a way to atone for his past, including the burning of a church filled with civilians during a war in France. By his side was his wife, Eleanor of Aquitaine, not just Queen of France, but one of the most powerful women of her time. Her lands stretched across nearly half of France, and her influence shaped the courts of Europe. Joining them was Conrad III of Germany, ruler of the Holy Roman Empire. He was more experienced in warfare, but wary of the politics surrounding the crusade. Together, they commanded the largest armies Europe had seen since the First Crusade. But there was a problem. They didn't trust each other, and they had no unified plan. Their journey began with promise, but quickly turned to disaster. The German army, led by Conrad, was the first to fall apart. Ambushed in the mountains of Anatolia, many were killed. The survivors limped toward the Holy Land. The French fared little better. Poor planning, rough terrain, and broken supply lines weakened Louis's forces long before they reached their destination. Meanwhile, rumors spread through the camps. Eleanor of Aquitaine, traveling with her court of Aquitanian nobles, was accused of defying tradition, even dressing like an Amazon warrior, though historians debate the truth of this story. Tensions grew, leadership faltered, and by the time they reached the walls of Jerusalem, the crusade was already unraveling. Instead of retaking Edessa, the Crusaders made a costly mistake. They turned on Damascus, a city that had once been an ally. The siege was rushed and poorly planned. After just 4 days of fierce resistance, the Crusaders abandoned the attack and retreated in humiliation. It was one of the greatest failures in Crusader history. But while the royal armies collapsed, the Knights Templar held their ground. They acted as guides, scouts, and elite cavalry, one of the few forces that maintained discipline throughout the campaign. Though the kings returned home defeated, the Templars remained in the Holy Land. They had proven themselves not just as defenders of pilgrims, but as the backbone of Crusader defense. The Second Crusade had failed. No cities reclaimed, no great victory won. But it set the stage for what was to come. The rise of military orders like the Templars, and the slow unification of Muslim forces under a name that would soon shake the Crusader world, Saladin.